Pleased to be joined now by ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky, whose appearances on One Bills Live are presented by Caesars Sportsbook, an official mobile sports betting partner of the Buffalo Bills. All right, Dano, a barn burner in L.A., as we well know. Josh of the 6-touchdown performance, first since Otto Graham in 1954. Hello! The troubling thing is this. The Bills are 4-5 when he has 400 yards or more of total offense. It's so frustrating to see him perform at a redonkulous level, and they're under 500.
Yeah. Now you know how the Bengals feel. It was a remarkable game. It was an unbelievable offensive performance. I said that on the show yesterday. I said we could do the whole show on just that game and just the offensive performance, just the quarterback performance by both players. I thought Josh was absolutely sensational. I would be a little bit more concerned if I was a Bills fan about the defense if we played in the NFC and we were going to see the Kyle Shanahan tree, which is what, Sean McVay is a part of. You're not going to see that much. You'll see it this weekend against Detroit. You will get very similar stuff, at least when it comes to the Bills defense. But Josh was he was sensational. It's rare. You guys have been around the NFL a long time to have the losing quarterback in a game and the conversation around him say, did he lock up the MVP with that performance? It was that good.
Yeah, and it was in our heart of hearts here in Buffalo, we're bitter about how it turned out. They lost by 2 points, but what a game it was. I mean, the NFL would take 50 of those every year, right? 42-44. Josh comes out and does all this. But let's talk about, right at the end of the game, we got a lot of calls yesterday, and the big topic of conversation always goes to the very last part of the game where either an official's non-call or a bad call. And in this case, the Bills trying that quarterback sneak right at the end, and then because it wasn't good, they had to take the timeout, or they didn't feel like they had enough time to get up, snap it quick. What are your thoughts on how the end of the game played out?
Yeah, I know they've taken a lot of heat over it. I did not mind the play call. A couple of reasons why. Number one, that's by far their best call in that situation. As a play caller, Joe Brady, Sean McDermott, what is our best 1-yard play? I think Josh is 18 of 20 this year or 17 of 20 this year running the football from a 1-yard or distance needed or less. So by far, that's our best play. Call it. I think the second thing is everyone who's saying, drop back and throw the football. Surely good play, no doubt. But it also enhances the risk of a bad play. And in that moment, a bad play is catastrophic just as much as using the timeout. A penalty, a sack, they might not be likely, but it still enhances the risk of it. So you're trying to mitigate the risk of a negative in that moment while also trying to get that positive play. I think the only thing, and I would imagine that there's a conversation and a learning from moment that you would change, is instead of calling the timeout, if you don't get it, just get to the line of scrimmage and run it right again. And that might cost you 8 seconds or something, but it preserves the timeout. And that's obviously the big conversation. So I didn't hate it. I think that the big thing is the growth from that. I'd also say this, and I said this yesterday on TV. They were going to have to onside kick anyway, in my opinion. Even if Josh scores on that first attempt and they keep their 3 timeouts, I don't believe that kicking the ball deep would have been the smart thing. The Rams weren't going to kneel on it. The Rams weren't going to play conservative offense. The Rams would have been aggressive in that moment. They knew what they were dealing with as well. So either way, I truly believe it was going to come down to an onside kick.
Yeah.
Right.
Defensively, Bills had some struggles. It's the first game they did not get a takeaway, and some people are wondering, have the takeaways masked some of the deficiencies of the defense? I don't know that I subscribe to that necessarily myself, but they had zero answers for the bootleg passing game of Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Jared Goff and Ben Johnson are going to be utilizing that this week. What is the answer to keeping him in the pocket and preventing those rollouts?
It's a huge challenge for a defense. I think one of the things that teams try to do is blitz where you believe the quarterback is going to be rolling into, dependent upon formation and whatnot. So as he makes that fake and tries to roll out, there's someone there that is committed to keeping him in the pocket or getting the ball out of his hands, because that's when this offense really gets dangerous. You know, Chris, it's often math when you're playing against the Shanahan tree, right? You know, if you sit there and you cut your defense in half more often than not, and you say 5 on one side, 6 on the other, a couple things. One, the Lions will do what the Rams did. They are going to present a formation, and then within 1 second of you getting set with that 5 and 6, they're going to change their numbers formation wise. And so then you are going to have to change your numbers formation wise. And then there's going to be another moment 2 or 3 seconds later where they're going to change it again. Okay. And so everyone needs to understand that when you're doing that to a defense, everybody's rules are changing. Everybody's gap in the run game is changing. Everybody's eyes and where they need to be in responsibility is constantly changing. One of the fundamental reasons why the Rams did it with success and why the Lions will do it is, as an offense, I don't need all of you to be wrong on the defense. I need one. And if I have one, it's advantage me. And so that's going to be the stress. And the thing is, and when smart play callers too, Chris, like if you go back, one of the first snaps of that game is the first quarter. It's 14 minutes, 24 seconds left on the clock. They shift in motion against Buffalo's defense. It's the most there was a lack of communication going on. 4 or 5 guys running all over the place. Ball gets snapped. In that moment, as an offensive mindset for me, I got you. It's coming all game. And that's what happened. You know, that's really what happened, the story of the game. And so is it fixable? 100%. Is it going to be perfect and easily solved? No, because that's football, and that's when you play against elite play callers.
So you get into this game, the Bills, you watch the Chiefs play and doink it for the division championship. Bills are still chasing those guys. Now it's a 2-game difference, though, and they're running out of games. And I think, what do you think your philosophy is? You know, I mean, certainly you're going to go into this Detroit game. This is a little bit, even though both these teams are in the playoffs, they're going to get there. This is a little bit of a statement game, right?
Yeah, I think they go out and obviously this is a game that is just as important as any other game. One, you're coming off of a loss. You want the defense to play significantly better. And if you're Buffalo, I think you're using it as a game of intel as well. You know, it's you're planning and hoping that you see this team again in another 8 weeks or so. And so I think that you're very much so going about your business and trying to go in and send a clear message again, but, very for your building, like, hey, last week we played a really good team. The quarterback was really hot. We're going to have to play teams like that in the playoffs to get where we want to go. We're going to have to play elite offenses, but it's about, us defensively getting better and improving. So while the 1 seed might feel more out of reach than it did, you go win this game, and Kansas City, we've talked about it. I mean, they could very much so lose 2 games over the next 4 weeks. Unlikely, sure, but they played Pittsburgh on Christmas Day. So there's still a lot to be played, for in the AFC.
Let's just briefly look at the Lions' defense. Obviously, they've been beset with injuries. They get another one last week with Aleem McNeil going in concussion protocol. We don't know what his status is going to be come Sunday. Maybe he clears. But no DJ Reader last week, no Onwuzurike, no Josh Paschal on their defensive front. Who is the most critical to return to the lineup if they want to be the kind of defense they've been, or at least effective enough where they feel they can neutralize this Bills offense?
Yeah, I mean, I would say number 1, McNeil, number 2, Reader.
Yeah.
I think those are the 2 guys that are likely, at least in the conversation, to have the chance to come back. I do not believe Anzalone, one of their inside linebackers, it has the chance to come back. This is a defense that's been decimated by injuries, but they're very aggressive. They're unapologetic. They are going to challenge Buffalo's offense. This will be a really cool barometer for this Buffalo offense, because Detroit and Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, it's a little bit philosophically like Kansas City. They are going to commit numbers and edges to stop Buffalo's offensive run game. They're going to put people across the line of scrimmage. They're going to be unapologetic about it, and they're going to try to attack on angles to stop the run game. They're going to line up and play press man coverage more often than not and saying, we don't think your guys are better than our guys. And Carlton Davis coming back's really important for them because he's a very physical corner. They got two safeties that are arguably the best safety combo in the NFL, in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Josh is going to have to be super conscious of where those guys are at all times because they're both ridiculous ball hawks. Just because they do have some injuries, this is still a very, very physical and daunting defensive unit, and they're going to challenge Buffalo.
One of the things we talked about, especially you go back over the games where Buffalo has struggled offensively and a little bit defensively as well. Like in the Baltimore game where they just didn't adjust. Like you said, like the Giants are going to come in, and I don't care. If you think you're going to run on us, we'll throw 9 defensive linemen on the field kind of thing. They exaggerate a response. How common is that in the league? Because I was saying that you get frustrated by watching the Bills watch Baltimore just hand it off to Derrick Henry, and they got nobody there, or they're just getting pushed around. How big an adjustment do most teams have to make to stop a running game of that caliber, and why is it that the Detroit Lions are so successful when they do that exact thing?
Yeah, you got to have it's however you want. What kind of risk do you want to roll or roll the dice on? When you're playing it the way that Buffalo does, and a lot of teams in the NFL do, it's we're willing to give you yards. But we want to play our best on, obviously, red zone defense, and we believe that you are going to beat yourself at some point, that you won't do the small things like we do. And so a penalty, a turnover, a miss on third down in the red zone field goal. So that's less risky than what the Lions do. The Lions are going to give you opportunities to throw the ball downfield. They are going to make you believe that you have to play one-dimensional. And they believe that they're either going to make you uncomfortable as a passer with the bodies that they'll put near you and force you to make throws in really small spaces. They trust their guys to play physical. They trust their guys to play with the proper leverage. I think that's one of the things that gets lost sight of defensively, Steve, and this is there's different versions of man coverage. It's not like they're just saying, hey, Carlton Davis, you got to cover that guy head to head, nose to nose, all over the field. They'll say, yes, you got him, but you play on his outside half because there will be a body somewhere in the middle, and that'll be your help. And so that'll be the challenge is, again, for Buffalo to find that as well. But it's just what kind of risk do you want to take? There's going to be opportunity for offenses like Buffalo against Detroit, but you got to hit them when they're there because it's not going to be all the time.
Yeah. Just with the Lions run game, we obviously know it's a two-headed monster. And it's super physical. They love driving people off the line of scrimmage. But what would you say are the biggest calling cards for what makes it so effective?
Yeah, number one, they're always going to try to gain the numbers advantage. It is going to be like that vintage San Francisco 49ers run game. It's going to be a lot like what they saw last week. There's going to be set of formation, and we're going to get, Taron Johnson over there. We're going to try to get an offensive lineman on Taron Johnson. That's what Detroit's philosophy is going to be, or a tight end. Okay, so that's just their reality. So they're going to try to gain that either numbers or size advantage in that. The picture will constantly change for this defense, and what gap responsibility is whose. The front side is really good in their run game. The backside is championship. If the backside of Buffalo's defense isn't elite, they will get the ball run all over them. That's just the backside is so good in Detroit when it comes to, and I would say philosophy, it's pretty similar. I've praised, and as you guys have, the perimeter blocking in Buffalo with Mack and Khalil. It's the same thing in Detroit. Amon-Ra and Tim Patrick, they're elite at it. And so everybody's a part of it. I think the second thing, Chris, is in my belief, this is the best. I don't call it play action offense. It is a run action. This play pass by Jared Goff, it looks like run. The hats of the offensive line stay low. the backs are flat. And so the secondary, those backers, the keys that they have on that stuff is just as much of a challenge as actually physically stopping the run.
A ton of really good games coming up this week as we look at, raise up and maybe look at somebody other than the Buffalo Bills. But you've got some really important, as you would expect at this time of year. What are some of the matchups this week? I mean, you got the Steelers at Philly. Everybody's looking forward to seeing those two teams go at it. What are some of the other matchups that you really like? I mean, obviously this Bills-Lions game, a lot of people want to see these two teams square off because it could be a preview of the Super Bowl. What are some of the other matchups you like?
I don't even know what they are.
Yeah, it's Bears-Vikings. It's Steelers. I guess it's really the Bills-Lions, Steelers-Eagles in the afternoon. Bengals-Titans is nothing, but
who do the Chiefs have?
What's that?
Who do the Chiefs have?
The Chiefs have got the Browns in Cleveland.
I mean, the Chiefs are going to be in a tight ball game. That's the obvious thing. Can they continue to get away with it and kind of find a way to win? I'm looking at it now. Ravens, Giants will be a win. Jets, Jags, nothing. Cowboys, Panthers, Commanders, Saints, Bengals, Titans aren't impactful. Again, the Chiefs, Browns. I guess Houston, Miami. Miami's playing well. Tua's played phenomenally since he's come back. They're still mathematically alive. Houston has had moments when they've looked really good. They haven't looked good. You think they're going to win that division. That would mean that they're going to host a playoff game. But I think that's an interesting game because, if Houston wins, it completely seals the door on Miami. Colts Broncos is huge. I mean, because the Colts are chasing the Broncos. The Broncos are at the 7th spot right now. Colts are in the 8th spot. I think Denver's a dangerous playoff team. I really do. I think that just because how great that defense is, and they can play man coverage with Surtain and Riley Moss. Bo Nix is in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. They're not going to host a game, obviously, but they're going to be one of those teams that goes somewhere, and that's a dangerous football team.
How much of an adjustment? So say, for instance, the Bills are 2 games behind the Chiefs, and it gets closer and closer. When and how do you handle the fact that you're probably not going to get the 1 seed, or maybe you do have a chance at the 1 seed? How do you handle the end of the season when really the tournament's about to start? You want to make sure you hit it healthy and sharp. How much do you either push on the gas to get the 1 seed or lay it off if you got no chance at the 1 seed and just say, listen, let's just get to the tournament healthy and sharp? What's your philosophy on end of season for teams who may or may not have a shot at a better seed and plus to get in?
I would say as long as mathematically the 1 seed is an option, you're playing for the 1 seed if you're Buffalo. And that is not even a secondary thought.
Right.
Once the 1 seed becomes mathematically no longer available, that's when I think you become very conscious of, okay, who can we preserve? How can we help them get a little bit healthier physically and mentally refresh to allow us to go play our absolute best football on that 1 month turn, essentially.
Do you care at all whether you're the 2, 3, or 4 seed because you really don't know who the wild cards are going to be at that? You know what I mean? How much do you care about that?
I think you care about so much more about who you are and the health of your team rather than who you're going to be playing against. You know that they have to come through Buffalo. I think once you start slotting yourself and at the end of the day, 1 seed and then it's not, it's how do we make sure that our 1 through 53 are playing their best? Because the reality is this, when this team's healthy and that conference playing at home, they're the team to go through, in my opinion. On the road, different conversation. I get all that, but you're more than likely looking at having to go on the road, if at all, to Kansas City.
Yeah. Simpson cast last night on Monday Night Football. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was really cool to be a part of. It's historic. Anytime you're a part of something historic was a lot of fun. I got kids. I grew up a 90s kid, so I was the punk teenager running around, eating my shorts or stuff like that. So it was fun to be a part of. Definitely different. Made for a super long day for work, but you know, it's something that, you know, will kind of last for a long time, whatnot. So I was grateful to kind of be a part of that. It was cool.
Yeah.
Great
All right.
seeing you, man. Thanks for coming
Dan.
on.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you.